Thank you, my colleagues, and thank you, panelists. Dr. Kreis, we have Dr. Shelton, and we have Ms. Ann Roth. And I know we'll be joined by if I'm correct, two mayors, the mayor from PD and the mayor from Sinhana. I'm trying to find their name now. Mayor Huffman, I think, was there. I hope he's still there. Right. And before we begin, I'd like to get the Sergeant Arms to first swear the two mayors on first, so that when they speak, they're under oath. All right. Sergeant Arms, if you can go ahead and administer the oath.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can I have both Mayor Huffman and Mayor Alec raise your right hand, please? Okay, under penalty of perjury, do you affirm that any and all information that you provide today, whether it be verbally, electronically, and in writing, be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Chair, they're both under oath.
Thank you very much, Sergeant Arms, and welcome, Mayor Robert and Mayor Jesse, to our virtual. I would begin by recognizing our oversight chair of university, and then we'll go back to Senator Sabina. Senator Shelton, if you please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to take the opportunity this morning to wish everyone a happy Women's Equality Day. This August, we celebrate the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment, granting women the right to vote. And so, as you can see, many of our colleagues are dressed today in purple and in gold to celebrate this day, 100 years of this, the ratification of the 19th Amendment, the empowerment of women, and I'd like to just wish everyone out in the public, all those watching, a great day and a happy month celebrating this anniversary. If we were under normal circumstances, of course, we'd be in the legislature having a resolution presentation with our different women's organizations and all of those who have helped move our efforts forward. And this year, as we've stated last year, it's a really special time as we celebrate our first female majority in the legislature, our first female governor, and female leaders in all walks of life here on our island. So Sidious Masti, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity. And before we get into the University of Guam, I know last night we were speaking on Section 12, and I think we have lots of different panel members today, and there was an amendment to be offered on Section 12. So if I could just ask for that amendment to be offered, and we can continue the discussion based on the amendment, so we don't have to keep going back and forth, Mr. Chair, if that's possible at this time.
Yes, thank you very much, Senator Shelton. We will recognize that. Senator Sabina Perez, if you could please introduce your amendment, and so we can focus on basically that discussion is what we're going to be discussing.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, yes, I thought we were having discussions about the university, and it's up to the proffer an amendment. They're going to propose their amendment, but we were asking questions of the panel last night.
Yes, we were. We were asking last night. It was all focused on the on page 23, and I'd like to ask the author of the amendment if she would like to introduce it at this time. We do have the two mayors that are going to be speaking in reference to that.
So, thank you, Mr. Chair. I prefer to proffer that amendment later this afternoon, if that's possible. Just as we bookmarked that whole section, I prefer to bookmark the amendment, but since we have the panel members right now, we could still ask them questions to help deliberate, as we go forward regarding this Section 12.
All right, so we're going to continue to bookmark it. We'll try to wrap up the discussion so we can move further on into the budget. All right?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, Senator Moylan, you have a question, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe last night we may have been left off with Senator Marsh, and then I was to follow Senator Marsh.
All right. That's correct. We left off with Senator Marsh. She asked questions. So yes, we'll begin with you, Senator Moylan, because Senator Marsh was done yesterday. Senator Moylan.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the panel for returning. I'm looking for, oh, there we are. At one of the board members, Ann Roth. I just had some further questions. Just wanted you to kind of reiterate what you gave us in your statement earlier. I do have a copy of your letter, and I think you made some key points for us to consider. Basically, you wanted us to uphold the law, and you read off your letter explaining that the proposed transfer of the $500,000 of the recycling fund to UOG Island's sustainability was not brought before the board. Is that correct, or am I understanding that correct, please?
That's correct.
Okay, thank
I
you.
mean, we didn't realize it.
Okay, and that by the public law 3537, the agency and the board of directors, the board is the one to determine the direction of how these EPA funds are to be spent. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. And currently in the recycling revolving fund, you have $2.8 million.
That's right.
Right. And last year, or FY20, what you appropriated to the mayor's council was $400,000, and now for FY21, you want to more than double that to $900,000. Is that right?
Yes, but I'll have to go back and check the numbers. Some of that might be used for the stimulus payments to vendors.
Oh.
But yes, the mayor's council will get an equal amount of what they have
Okay.
this year.
Okay. So if this body, when we decide to make our decision on this, and the 500,000 is removed from the recycling revolving fund, unless we do make another change to the law, of course, we're basically breaking the current law. We're not getting the board that was in place to provide transparency for the people's money, which is the taxpayers. That when I register my car, this is where the taxes go to get rid of my junk car. This is where the taxes go to when I dispose of my oil for my vehicle. And this is how these taxes right now are supposed to be managed through EPA, through you folks, through the board, an appointed board. So we have transparency and we know exactly where it's going to. So by overstepping the board, we're kind of coming up with the truth later on. And I don't feel that's correct. And I really feel for your opinion that we need to uphold the law. And another member also said the same thing. You're willing to look at this if you bring it before the board and you guys can all talk about it. Is that right? Is that your compromise? We can do this if we bring it before the board.
That's right. And I just want to point out that we have the administrator, the deputy administrator, and the head of the air and land department are all members of G3. So they have provided input to G3. They have worked with them, and we can continue to work with the G3 group out of the University of Guam. And this catches us off guard because we have been working with them. And as Mayor Savara stated yesterday, she's getting something out of with Jacobs Engineering. So there are ways to work with G3, but we're all working in the same thing to promote a healthy environment for Guam. And I'm just saying, as a board member and with the rest of the board, we want to protect what was set aside to provide for the initiatives to, for clean up the island and promote the welfare of the island. And that's our job. I mean, we have a great and very knowledgeable staff. And as a board member, we have to set aside, speak up and say, wait a minute, go through channels. There's a law there. There are requirements that are specific. And so we're just saying, please go follow the law. Let's work together.
Yeah, very good points, Ann, and I appreciate that. And I think the mayor's council, the letter from Melissa Tavares and Mayor Hoffman also addressed how well they work with G3 and as EPA was saying as well, that this is something we want to collaborate with as well. But at this point, why are we overstepping this? And we should let the process work out with the professionals at hand, I believe. I think G3 is a good thing, and it should be funded. But if we're going to fund it correctly, then let's do it the right way, as EPA board member is expressing to us, and also the mayors. And if it can't be done right now, maybe we look at in this manner. Maybe we have to look at another source of revenue, or we just look at coming back together at another time and allow EPA to work this out with the mayors and with G3 too. And I think that will be the best course of action. Mr. Chair, I have no other questions. Thank you very much, Ann Broth. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And just to follow up with that same question that Senator Morgan brought up, and Ms. Roth, you mentioned possibly you're going to give additional money, and you mentioned stimulus. I'm trying to understand what role does EPA play in paying stimulus that came from the federal government? So I'm just curious. We're looking. What can you please explain that, and maybe you can tell us generally, and to tell the people of Guam exactly what are the plans for 2021 and on how the funds of the 2.8 is going to be used to pay to clean up Guam. I'm very curious to know that.
Okay, stimulus payments are given to vendors to help remove and pay them for removing the cardboard, the aluminum, various metals. Okay, and that is set by law, and there is a limit, and it depends on what the market is there. So that was given last year, and the problem is there's no market right now for most recyclables. Okay, so and the cap has already been met. So, and then you're asking what we have set aside money, and we're going to set aside money for the mayors for next year, and that's to continue the mission of getting rid of junk vehicles, tires, batteries, etc., waste goods, white goods. But the stimulus is something that was put in place by the legislature, and that is to help the vendors recoup some of the costs of sending off or processing, like I said, the cardboard, the aluminum, metals.
All right, no, but what I led on to Ms. Ann Roth is you mentioned 900. What is the plan for 2021? What is the plan that EPA has that's going to act on with the 2.8? That's what I want, because you identified 900,000, and if you can just tell us generally what is written up and how EPA is going to spend the 2.8 on cleaning Guam. I'm very curious to know that.
All right. The mayors are going to get additional funds, at least the same amount, and then they're set aside. I'm not sure exact numbers, but I'll say, let's say 400,000 for the stimulus payments, 500,000 for the mayors. It's something along that line. But that's what we have in plan right now. And then, of course, we continue to work on other programs.
Okay, so there's no other plans. Okay, thank you. Moving along, Senator Barris, you wanted to speak. What was the issue you wanted to bring up?
I had a point of information regarding how are they going to use the funds. So that is the purpose of my zero waste bill, is to expand the programs, to modernize the program so that we're using it for other ways. As you know, the Recycling Revolving Fund was created 16 years ago, and it has been updated since that time. And so you also sponsored the public hearing for it, and we're just basically need some time to amend it so it can expand some of its uses to include circular economy stuff. So yeah, as time goes by, there is definitely other options. And even after introducing the bill, I find that there is even more ways we can modernize this law. And so, yeah, I guess in addition to what the programs that EPA oversees right now, we have this opportunity right now to expand its uses. So it's just a matter of time before we modernize this rule law.
All right, thank you. Steve, is there any labs or funds that are still in 2020 in the EPA that's still sitting there? I'm just curious to know. It's 2.8 is for 2021. What do we have there, Steve? If you can please provide us that information.
Mr. Chairman, I would need to look at that. I do not have that amount available, but if you give me a few minutes, I may
I'm
be
sorry,
able to look it up for you.
All right, appreciate
Mr.
it.
Chair,
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry.
Yes.
The live stream is offline right now. Please stand by.
Okay, let's take a few minute recess until it comes back on, and then we'll know we're back on live, okay? And we'll wait until we get the green light that we're back on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, my colleagues, for the panel. Due to technical difficulties, we're taken off, but we're back on. And Steve, do you have that information? Or Senator Perez, do you want to repeat what you said earlier before Steve comes on? Steve, stand by, Steve. Senator Perez, do you want to repeat what you stated earlier?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So if you look at GCA, what the Recycling Revolving Fund can be used for is very specific. And it includes the Mayor's Island-wide cleanup program. It includes the recycling stimulus. So those are the only two programs right now. In addition to funding, only one person from Guam EPA to manage the fund, and money towards 300,000 going towards a private company or to consult with regarding making sure that how we're diverting the waste stream is going to be safe for our island. 100,000 goes towards educational efforts. So it's very prescribed right now. And as you know, the Recycling Revolving Fund is 16 years old and requires modernizing. My bill 362-35, also known as the Zero Waste Act, actually helps to modernize the Recycling Revolving Fund, but maintains that the priority is in place. So as you know, our vehicle registrations, $25 of that, for most of us, goes towards this fund with the understanding that it's going to remove our junk vehicles, white goods, a lot of these things that we find in illegal dumps. And so, that's what the public relies on. It relies on that when we give this $25, it's gonna do this important work for our island. And so what my zero waste bill does, it expands it to include other efforts that we see has come about in the recent future. I think in the future too, we also, in addition to removing these things from our island, we have to look forward and even try to be more conscious about what we're importing. So we all know that, one of the issues we're facing today is the markets for recyclable plastics. As you know, China shut down some of its markets, or has shut down in receiving these items from some countries. A lot of the countries, the markets are closing in regards to recycling plastic. So we have to come up with new ways of dealing with plastic. And I think ultimately, we have to limit the plastic coming in and find other innovative solutions to do this. And so that's what my zero waste bill does. And really, I just want to share with the public that this is something that I latched onto 15 years ago when ORDOT dump had to be closed, and I didn't want to see another landfill in another village. And I really wanted to, considering that most of the trash comes from the north, and now we're dumping it in the south, I felt that was an environmental justice issue. And we really have to all take our part in reducing our waste stream. And the zero waste bill, that's the intentions of the zero waste bill, is to encourage all of us to take responsibility in what we throw out and limiting and minimizing our impact to the environment. And so I think, in moving forward, we really have to work together. It really undermines the environmental movement if we're going to pit one against another. And really, the Recycling Revolving Fund is the way forward. By amending the law, as we've done in the past legislatures, the way forward is really to work with the system we have in place that is already doing the work. It was just a matter of broadening that effort so that we're all on board together. And we don't want to leave anybody out of this. And it's important. All right. This is something we work together in a coordinated fashion.
All right. Thank you, Senator Sabina. Thank you for the quick brief of the zero waste bill, but we're not at that point. Why don't we go ahead and Steve, if you can tell us where we're at financially with the EPA and what you have on record, so that everybody understands what's on record.
Based on the recycling fund balance out of the AS400, we have a total available balance of about 5.3 million. That is the
year are you
balance.
referring to?
No, that is,
Is that
you're asking me, if you're asking me what is the total balance of the recycling fund today, the system
right.
is showing 5.3 million. If you want to know what the balance is for each fiscal year, it would take, I would need some time to do that. But I
Okay.
think the question posed to me was what was the fund balance?
Okay, thank you. 5.3, is, as any, well, so in other words, not, you don't see anything on the record that shows anything encumbered of any activity other than 5.3 and supposedly the 400,000 for 2020, am I correct?
Sorry, Joey's on mute.
Steve, you need to go, you're on mute, you can just,
I got it, sorry. I'll just repeat. Total appropriations against the recycling fund to date is 8.5 million. What has been
8.5.
8.5? What has been expended is 1 million. What has been encumbered is 1.8 million to leave a balance of 5.2 million to date.
So it's 5.2 million, not 5.3. Okay, 5.2.
Well, 5.3, sir, rounded up 5.3, yes.
Okay, my colleagues, at least you understand what's out there. And we do have two other members that have, mayors that have joined us. I want to be able to hear, and unless any other colleagues would like to ask any questions of Ms. Roth. We have two mayors that are here, and my main concern is that until whatever bills amends the EPA law, we will have to stick with it for now until the bill passes. So we stick with cleaning Guam, and that's what I would expect from the EPA and for the mayor's support. Mayor Robert Hoffman and then Mayor Jesse Alec, please.
Hafide, thank you. Thank you for having us. It's my first appropriations hearing. I just want to, I want to thank the legislature for the money. In the previous legislatures, they always gave us a set amount of what would go to the program. This is actually the least that we've ever had. And I've been in office for 16 years. I was with Senator Rory at the time, who actually helped create the Recycling Revolving Fund. I was one in his committee. And so I understand some of the challenges. And right now, speaking for Sinahanya, I'm not even 1/3 done of what I need to do in collections, and I'm already exhausted all my POs. And it's hard to kind of do the PO side. I just want to speak on this, is because EPA is closed. EPA's been closed when they shut down. And so it's hard to push paperwork out and get things out when they're considered a non-essential agency, which is wrong in my book. And so we're have all these delays now, and we're coming up to the end of the fiscal year. We're trying to get as much as we want done out. And so we want an easier way to do this. And many of my colleagues, we said, in the previous past, it was always a direct appropriation to the mayor's council or to DPW. There was a way we worked together here. And I think we created more government in a way. We're the boots on the ground. And sadly to say, EPA doesn't do its job when it comes to citing, issuing out stuff like that. We've have piles everywhere. And when we call asking for assistance, it's here and there, and it's hard. And I understand that they're understaffed or whichever else. But the way to actually remove the eyesores and the problems that plague every one of these villages is us through this program, is what we're doing. And that's what we're trying to do. It's kind of very difficult to say, and then, to get 400 or whichever else like this, 400,000 or whichever else, just my colleagues, I'm super frustrated that, just to hear that we have 5-point-something million and we have to beg for money doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So we're actually going to be putting out a letter requesting for a way lot more money for this, because it's literally out there. At the end of the day, the government's going to end up paying for all these illegal dump sites everywhere. I mean, in my pipeline alone, I had 14 dump truck loads of junk and trash there. That's not from us. It's our own people who are desperate. And so we've asked for assistance from public health, EPA, everybody else, and we ended up having to do it. And I think, that's the shock, and that's the honest truth. So we support the G3 because at least it helps start this industry, whether it be cardboard or plastics or other things. I mean, we've been to places where they do creative things. I was in Palau and they have a small tire shredder. I'm not asking for a big thing. And these are things that we could use internally, but it's hard to just collect these things. And all these countries that receive the stuff are starting to say, no, we don't want your trash, we don't want your junk, because they're valueless. So it really is hard. We're in a hard place here, but we don't want to be up against UOG. We don't want to be up against EPA on this. And I think ultimately is give the mayors what they need, give us the correct tools, and don't underfund us in a way, because in the previous legislature, they gave us money, but then they reduced our operating budget. And we realized, and we agree with Anra, you can't, the purpose of the whole fund was to do the specific task, not to fund our agency. Now, we don't want to use it for our operations or anything else. So let's keep it the way people intended. They're paying into this fee. They want it to be used for a specific task. I'm fine with that. If some of the tasks end up being thinking outside the box, saying we can actually repurpose some of these things and not have to send it out and create a circular economy, we're all for it. So that's my 2 cents.
All right, Mayor Jesse, before I open for my colleagues to ask questions, we'll get Mayor Jesse Alec from PD to speak, and then I'll open it up for any of my colleagues. How you doing, Jesse?
Good. Thank you for allowing me to speak. So unfortunately, majority of the mayors were not able to agree with the letter that was sent by Mayor Savares and Mayor Hoffman. And as you know, we did send a letter this morning to you at about 9 a.m. And I want to be very clear that we do support the G3 initiative. But we're most concerned that if money is taken away from the Recycling Revolving Fund, will that decrease the funding that the Mayor's Council receives to clean up? So we are on board with G3 because we do want to see a diverse economy. We do want to see new ideas on Guam, and we want to be able to live sustainably. But at the same time, we have a responsibility to our communities, and we're most concerned about the funding levels that we will receive, especially in this next fiscal year, to clean up Guam. And if we're not given the adequate funding, then whoever is given that money should be given that responsibility as well. But ultimately, I think we all know that everyone will turn to the mayor to pick up their washer and pick up their dryer, even though they've already gone to DPW to get their one pickup a year or what have you. And we want to work together. And so one of the things that I would like to say is if EPA is on board with giving more money away from the Recycling Revolving Fund to any other entity, as long as the Mayor's Council is adequately funded to do our job, we'll have no problem. And we would appreciate the communication as well, because as you see, 21 mayors signed a letter opposing the funding from the Recycling Revolving Fund. It's as easy as picking up the phone and calling and communicating so that we're all on the same page and that we all agree to whatever end goal that we want to achieve for all of us. So again, at the end of the day, we support the G3 initiative, but we don't support taking funding away from the Mayor's Council to go to other entities before we actually comply with the mandates comply with our mandates.
Sorry,
all right,
Mr.
thank you, Mayor. Hold on, Senator Sabina. I'll address you. Stand by.
I just want him to read the letter, give him an opportunity to read his letter to the public, because they're not apprised of what it says.
All right, okay. Which mayor is going to read it? Mayor Hoffman or is it Mayor Jesse? Which one?
So we heard the letter yesterday from Mayor Hoffman. So we can hear, well, I guess both letters were, I believe the speaker read the letter yesterday.
That's correct.
Hoffman. But if Mayor Hoffman wants to read it, his letter, and then Mayor Jesse can read.
That's why I'm asking the two. So why don't we just pause? Senator Lee?
I apologize, Mr. Chair. I was having some internet issues, so I had to log on my phone, but I just wanted to raise a point of order. Is there an amendment that we're discussing here? I'm not sure why all of this discussion is taking place. I'm confused as to why we're bringing all of this up, but it was very enlightening, and I'm glad we were able to ask questions to figure out exactly how much money is in this fund. And in my mind, I think we can move forward giving the mayors what they need and giving G3 what they need. But just again, a point of order, is there a specific amendment that has been proffered that we're discussing? Otherwise, Mr. Chair, we only have a few more days to complete this budget, so we need to move forward.
Yes, thank you.
Mr.
Thank
Chair,
you.
Mr. Chair, point of order. I mean, I don't understand why, when we are in an agency asking questions about why we are giving $500,000 from the Recycling Revolving Fund to the University of Guam, contrary to law, that is going to be questioned or be out of order. Of course, we are here in the budget to question every item that's in here. And I just think we should be allowed.
Understood.
Is there an amendment? That's all I'm asking.
That's not. What if there is? What if there isn't? That's irrelevant.
Senator Therese, I would just tone it down a little bit. Senator Sabine already brought up the issue that she has an amendment. She's going to bookmark it. She just asked for a few more comments and discussion, and we're going to end it with we'll allow Jesse, Mayor Jesse, to comment, and then we're going to move on because we're already bookmarking this. Okay, I think we did have a lot of discussion. All right, so stand by, Senator Therese. Before Jesse reads, I will have Jesse read first before Ann Roth will speak, and then we're going to move on because it's twice been bookmarked, the same page. Jesse, if you want to read the letter, if you could, please.
Sure.
Mayor Jesse.
Holiday Chairman San Agustin, we, the undersigned, ask the committee and senators of Imina 35 na Legislature in Guam to oppose the funding appropriation to the Guam Green Growth G3 initiative from the Recycling Revolving Fund. Collectively, we support the goal of the G3 initiative to encourage opportunities to diversify our economy through sustainability. However, we cannot endorse a measure that will reduce the funding source available to the Mayor's Council of Guam to execute our mandated responsibilities. The Mayor's Council of Guam receives a percentage of this fund to dispose junk vehicles, washers, dryers, water heaters, stoves, ovens, microwaves, air conditioners, computers, television sets, monitors, electronics, tires, and metal waste. Without adequate funding to the Mayor's Council of Guam, the island will continue to see a rise in illegal dumping that negatively affects our environment and our economy. Our district funds will more than likely be reduced next fiscal year, and a reduction in our allotment to dispose recyclables will inevitably lead to more illegal island-wide dumping with no solution. We implore the senators of Imina 35 na Legislature in Guam to oppose any measure that obligates the Recycling Revolving Fund to any additional projects without first adequately funding the recycling mandates of the Mayor's Council of Guam. Sidus Masik for your time and consideration. Sincerely, Paul M. McDonald, Kevin Siswico, Christopher Feheran, Frankie Salas, June Blas, Jesse Bautista, John Cruz, Doris Lujan, Alan Ngakta, Thomas Duenas, Ernest Chargloff, Rudy Paco, Jesse Alec, Del Alvarez, Vicente Taitigui, Luis Rivera, Kenneth Santos, Johnny Kinata, Rudy Matanani, Anthony Sanchez, and Bill Kenya.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Ms. Ann, we'll have you give the last, and then we're going to move on this budget. Okay, Ms. Ann?
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify, the board passed a resolution in March for allocating for next fiscal year $900,000 for the Mayor's Council of Guam for their island-wide cleanup. So they will be getting definitely an increased amount next year. That's $900,000 for the mayors, and in addition, $500,000 for the economic stimulus program. And as far as the remainder of the money, there are a lot of things that that money can be used for. And there are programs that we're working on. The composting master plan will take up $500,000. Recycling enterprise law, another $500,000. The resource recovery project, we're developing a food bank, another close to $500,000. There are a lot of ways to use the money, and we are working on it, but we have to go follow the law and go step by step. That is all we're saying. And that is all we're asking. Just follow the law. Let us, the EPA, work within that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Roth. And I would just, Steve, what is budgeted for the recycling fund for 2021? Is that 2.8?
Hold on, sir.
What is for 2021?
Yeah, we have appropriated 2.4 million to EPA, and of course to UOG G3 initiative, the 500,000. That is the amount being appropriated out of the recycling fund for 2021.
And that's not even in addition to what's still in their account, the 5.3. Am I correct?
You're correct, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Folks, colleagues, and thank you, Ms. Ruth. Thank you, mayors. Does any of my colleagues want to ask any questions? Otherwise, we have to move on this. It's already been bookmarked, the page. We're going to hold off on it. Unless you have an amendment, Senator Paris, we're going to move on. Senator Paris.
Dr. Christ just submitted a letter this morning. If I could just ask him a question regarding that letter.
Okay, well, maybe he can just read the letter before you even ask him a question. Dr. Christ, if you could please read that letter that you submitted.
Thank you. Let me just pull it up here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, honorable senators. So it's Buenos and San Rafa Day, honorable senators. The purpose of this letter is to provide comment on the substitute bill 282-35 and to provide further comments to the university's letter to the legislature on August 6, 2020. The current appropriation levels stated in this bill do not adequately fund the basic needs of the university and jeopardizes our ability to retain current and future federal funds. The year-to-year reduced level of funding continues to put the university's mission at risk at a time where the university should be used to help create solutions and infuse new skills and talent into our island economy. Since UOG has already been cut repeatedly over the last 4 years, we ask for no less than a flat appropriation for fiscal year 2021 of $27.6 million. Under the category General Operations. The current bill provides a $26.06 million appropriation for General Operations. This is a $1.55 million decrease from the current fiscal year, which is itself a serious reduction from previous levels of funding. The university is also bound by the same maintenance of effort requirement as the Guam Department of Education, where it states, quote, "A state must maintain support for higher education at the level of such support that is the average of such state support for higher education provided in the 3 fiscal years preceding the date of the enactment of the CARES Act," close quote. Providing a level appropriation of $27.6 million is necessary to maintain this requirement. In addition to the MOE, the maintenance of effort requirement, the Higher Education Emergency Relief Funds under the CARES Act outlines in its certification of agreement that the, quote, "recipient will pay all of its employees and contractors during the period of any disruptions or closures related to the coronavirus," close quote. The $26.06 million appropriation provided for fiscal year 2021 imperils our ability to maintain our current employees and contracts. We are concerned $4.5 million of HERF money, that's the Higher Education Emergency Relief Fund money, provided to the university will also be in jeopardy on top of anything that could be received under the Education Stabilization Fund. Under the next category is the Student Financial Assistance Program, or SFAP. The university is
my apologies, Mr. President, my apologies. Mr. Chair, we are offline again on the live feed.
Stand by.
I apologize, Dr. Christ. If you could just stand by, we're offline again, and we'll probably have this throughout the day on this virtual. All right. Joe, are we back on, or are we still off?
Stand by, sir. Stand by.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, we're still online. Did you just want to go to recess?
No. If we're online, let's get back on. Let's wrap this one up with Dr. Christ.
Okay. Yeah, you can go ahead and
we were
continue.
offline. We can go ahead and continue.
Okay. Yes.
Happy folks.
Thank you.
All right. Please do, Dr. Christ.
So again, under Student Financial Assistance Program, the heading, the university is thankful for the maintained level of appropriation under SFAP totaling $3.3 million. If there are any additional funds realized throughout the year, we humbly request these funds be appropriated towards this program. In the current economic climate, the Student Financial Assistance Fund, their need-based funding is more important than ever for our people, our economy, and our future. Under the category Water and Environmental Research Institute, or WERI, the current bill provides WERI with $159,000 for the Guam Hydrologic Survey and $136,000 for the Comprehensive Water Resource Monitoring Program. To maintain the same level of researchers, to include students, the Guam Hydrologic Survey needs $187,000. The Comprehensive Water Resource Monitoring Program is also unfunded, putting WERI at risk of not meeting its federal match requirements of $163,000. Under the category Engineering Annex and Student Success Center, funding that was intended to be continuously appropriated to the university as per Public Law 33-92 is not in the current substitute bill and jeopardizes the ability to close on the current loan reapplication with the U.S. Department of Agriculture. While it is unlikely the full $1.15 million in appropriation will be used up for the entire year, not providing any funding for fiscal year 2021 can cause the USDA to be more concerned in the government's ability to pay this commitment. The university is humbly asking for the legislature to confirm its commitment to this project by approving an extension to the term of the lease agreements to include an additional 6 years. Under the category the Guam Cultural Repository. As stated in our previous letter, we recognize the $1.06 million request is an entirely new line item to the budget, but the university needs financial support to run the operations once the Guam Cultural Repository is built. The repository is a Guam asset that the university is managing. The government of Guam's support for the operations of the repository was a key component of the agreement with the federal government. And the final category is legislative support for the university's 21st century bill. The impacts the coronavirus pandemic have brought on to education further confirms the need for the university to transform itself. We believe the first steps to doing this involve the legislature's support in passing the university's 21st century bill. We urge your support for this important bill. Thank you for the opportunity to provide further comments on Bill 282-35. The university recognizes that the task of providing a balanced budget for fiscal year 2021 is not easy, and we applaud your efforts to take this on. As always, we remain committed to working with the Guam legislature to find solutions for our island community. The investment you make in your University of Guam during these hard times will yield great dividends in our collective recovery of our economy when we rid ourselves of this pandemic. Sincerely, Thomas W. Christ, President.
All right, thank you, Dr. Christ. Being that this page is already bookmarked,
Yeah,
I think we have sufficient discussion. Senator Therese, before we go to Senator Parrish, Senator Therese first, and then we're gonna move on.
Yes, I have some questions, just like the other senators, Mr. Chair. And so, first of all, you know, the law has, it's been the legislature that has appropriated this recycling fund over the years. And in some ways that has been really the detriment of why our environment is really not as clean as it could be, because it's really been, this fund has been the political football. It's been the one that everybody wants. And then finally the legislature tried to get, they've locked it away from EPA for years. They've required them, to do different things. And then the legislature, even when I was a senator 2 years ago, that was the big debate, is why was the legislature appropriating this money directly to the mayors and not letting EPA manage it the way it's supposed to. And so I thought we were moving away from that when we finally, got those rules and regulations, which were also very controversial for many years. Those were finally adopted. I thought that was a huge feat, and that we're not going to go through this political battle anymore. But I just wanted to ask Ms. Roth, when, if you could remind me, when those rules were enacted
Our RF was enacted in October last year.
Okay, and so it was just October last year. In fact, it was after the budget. So the amount that the mayors received for fiscal year 20 is because of the legislature, I think, that we dictated how much of that revolving fund could be used by EPA, and that we dictated that we changed the game. We made sure that EPA was going to hold them accountable, to put some accountability into place. It's my understanding that they're just maximizing the purchase order that was put out for the 400,000, and that of course EPA is going to come back and do more when that. But the problem was, of course, as Mayor Hoffman said, it's the pandemic shutdown. So just like the rest of our government, this is just one moment in time that they are not able to continue to pick up those goods. They've locked it down. Otherwise, I think that's everybody's goal. And all across the island, I agree with the previous speakers that we're going to, no one disagrees with G3. My issue is that it was created by an executive order. It's the governor's desire to have this working group with very noble goals, and it's great, but nowhere in that executive order did it say, they're going to take the place of Guam EPA or take over the duties of the Guam EPA or take the money of the Guam EPA or for any of the program. The duty by law still rests on Guam EPA. And while we continue to divert the resources from them that they are supposed to be, not just picking up abandoned vehicles, but picking up, that's their first priority. And they are actively working on that. The first priority, junk vehicles, tires, batteries, waste oil, white goods, appliances. But they've also have in their statute these huge mandates, like even the speaker mentioned earlier, the bottle bill. Again, never funded. We need to be committed. We can't be, changing our mind since October to now that, now it's not good anymore that Guam EPA is going to control this. And the thing about Guam EPA is because we are the one who has dictated their priorities, and then through their rules and regulations, they have dictated exactly how they're going to use these funds and what the priorities are going to be. And we have been able to vet that through the legislature process and through the public. And so I have nothing against G3, but I'll tell you, at the hearing recently, there's a whole bunch of other people in line for this money too who would want it. There's another working group that was established by the governor called the Zero Waste Working Group that also wants the money. The Bureau of Statistics and Plans, they also want the money. The Department of Public Works, the Port Authority of Guam also joined in. The Guam Solid Waste Authority, as we heard earlier, of course, they also want the money for a recycling program. They want us to subsidize that. But right now, by law, the money goes to EPA. And so and I have nothing against G3, and I think we can all work together, as the chairperson for environment has said. But what I'm wondering is, I have not seen, a plan for the use of these funds that is going to address, I've heard, you, Dr. Shelton, in your testimony, and I appreciate that. Those are some of the types of things that we have discussed in other hearings as well. So nothing against those. But when I read the executive order, it says the G3 working group would, in the last resolve clause, says it would create the G3 action strategy framework for a 10-year action plan. It's like a plan that's supposed to be the product of this group. And then I read a Post article where they had their first meeting, and it says that they were going to deliver this product in April of this year. And, but now I know that things have changed, because you've said that if we give you this money, you're going to be able to get more money for the University of Guam through grants or something. But I'm just wondering, I mean, if this is just a complete departure from the statute. And I just think this is exactly how the legislature, you know, why the public almost despises us. And that is because they've put their money in these special funds for special purposes, and then lawmakers have diverted these funds at their whim or at their, you know, without really full vetting. And if we want to change the statute, then let's vet that and let's change that. But for now, let's give EPA, that just got this in October, the support that it needs to finish these huge mandates, these huge solid waste, zero waste. Those are all in their books. But Mr. Shelton, I just want, in your plans, does it include picking up the stuff the mayors are concerned about, the junk vehicles, the tires, the batteries? I mean, you know, that's one issue. My other issue is, you know, President Christ, if this is really going to bring in, you know, we're not even clear because I have no documentation in front of me to really vet this program that you are proposing. But, you know, was it vetted by the University of Guam? And is there any other way? We gave the University of Guam very special powers to have this RCUOG in order to, you know, raise its own funds, bypassing procurement laws and all the personnel laws and all kinds of things. They also have a UOG endowment foundation. And if this is a great investment for the University of Guam, I mean, you know, has the endowment foundation been approached? Things like that. I mean, I'm just saying this was thrown into this budget and really not fully vetted. So we're trying to vet it here, you know, at the last minute, and then we're trying to be, and you know, people want to rush us. But I'm just saying, we have vetted the statute that dictates how the recycling revolving fund is going to be spent, Mr. Chair. So, thank you.
Excuse me, Senator Therese, did you want Dr. Shelton or Dr. Christ to respond to your statement in reference to University of Guam? And they're here, they can respond and we can move on.
Yes, or if they could provide to us some, you know, what is the plan that we are approving here, or what is their proposal for use of this money, and, you know, really to validate why we're going to really depart from the law. I don't, you know,
All right.
money going.
Well, let's allow them to speak then, Senator Reese. Thank you. Dr. Shelton, if you like to respond, or Dr. Christ, whichever one of you would like to respond, please.
Yeah, if there was any documentation submitted that I maybe I haven't seen. Maybe I've seen letters, but that's it.
All right, Senator Reese. Dr. Christ or Dr. Shelton, whoever's going to speak, please speak, and we can move on.
Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for your questions and your statement, Senator Terlahi. So we have submitted letters and different items in the plans that we're working on. And so we are in the process right now of our 81-member working group of finalizing the action plan in time for September, the United Nations General Assembly and Climate Week, which is the anniversary of when we came to the forefront of a global movement in island sustainability by joining the 30 Islands Network and launching our Guam Green Growth Initiative, similar to other jurisdictions island leaders in sustainability have done, such as Hawaii Green Growth. We're at the forefront with them, with Ireland, with Republic of Marshall Islands, and others that have created these sustainability frameworks. So as a few examples of the type of work that we're going to do, we are not going to be able to replicate and take over all the roles of the mayors, and that's why it's an important partnership that they continue to do what they do, and they are members of the Guam Green Growth Initiative, which will be able to track everybody's work across the entire government, the private sector. It's dashboard, which is a really famous dashboard that Hawaii is recognized around the world for advancing the targets of their Aloha Plus Challenge, which is our Guam Green Growth Action Framework, which we're furiously completing before the end of September. But we already have things in motion, which is the reason why we need the money for fiscal year 2021 to continue. As I mentioned last night, that we have the in creation and in development. We have some of the funding from the governor and also leveraging hundreds of thousands of dollars in federal funds to create entrepreneurs to come in and create new products out of waste, to put trash out of the landfill and cash in people's pockets. We are working on Sustainable Development Goals 1 and 2 to reduce poverty and create opportunities for social services around the Sustainable Development Goal framework. So recycling is just one part of what we need to do to be sustainable, and we're going beyond that in this transition to the circular economy and giving ownership to every individual at the village level, the entrepreneurs, small businesses, to have an ownership role in this transition to the circular economy. So I really think we're having a grassroots opportunity for
Dr. Shelton, I'm all for the circular economy, that we, increase circular economy on Guam and in any way we can. My question is, yes, so you said your framework is going to be done when? When is that? Because this is a working group supported by government and private parties that I know that they've been working.
We have dozens of targets already developed. We are finalizing it in a formal event at the end of September, which will be a global event to bring in our partners from around the world to do this together at the UN General Assembly. And so we're really excited for that event. And I just want to highlight that we're doing is also leveraging federal funds, maximizing impact, as you alluded to earlier. And Senator Perez had talked about of working together. So not only have we been talking to these members, but I have been asking for years in discussions with the mayors, in discussions with EPA, in discussions with Senator Perez about the inclusion of Guam green growth in the zero waste bill, but that just has not been heard. And this is where we are today, and I'm thankful for the opportunity for consideration by this body to have a local investment in the most comprehensive sustainable framework plan that we'll have ever created for the island. And I think we're going to have tangible solutions delivered quickly.
I hope so.
Right.
We have not seen that, and I very much respect that, and I'm looking forward to that. And I just want to know, but Dr. Kreis, have you pursued this, opportunity? If we can't even see a document that says this is really going to bring in federal funds, or you're just using your existing federal funds to, help you staff this program. But, that's one of the representations that I want to clarify also, because otherwise, have we checked GITA for these types of grants? Have we checked
all right, Senator Therese. Dr. Shelton, you want to respond? I saw your hand go up. Did you want to respond in reference to federal money?
Sure. The federal money, for example, as we were planning to move Guam Green Growth forward, we submitted in a proposal to the National Science Foundation, where we've gotten the largest grant in the university in Guam history, $20 million to our jurisdiction to do cutting edge coral reef research, but there's a portion of that is education and workforce development, which provides a full-time person makerspace and also materials to put into the makerspace. But this is not enough to have a successful operation. Local investment for the local matching funds for that type of activity, and also to make the project whole. We also have.
So did you get the grant already?
That one is in place. And so this is part of the strategy to move these things forward, as we have the small local investment from Governor Leon Guerrero in the beginning, and the grants that have already come in and are set to come in, that we need this fund to keep moving forward and not to lose progress in what we're already doing.
All right, thank you. I hope that answers the question, Senator Teresa, and we can move on now.
Well, I'm just asking if there's any documents they could submit that we could see for ourselves. So it sounds like they've already got these grants in place. This is just to supplement these other grants.
It's not a supplement, Senator. to actually do a project, we have to strategize to have bits and pieces to create a whole program. So we have grants right now.
I know, but yeah.
And we are able to hit the same sustainable development goal targets, but it falls apart on its own. They need to be done together, and local investment is required in order to get the critical local matching funds and to make the project whole for the maximum impact.
I guess that's my point.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to make your local match already. That that has been met.
All right.
And so this is what we've had in the letters, that we are maximizing impact. We are leveraging federal funds. So this is an excellent return on investment for the recycling revolving fund. It's an excellent return on investment for any local funds that can come to it. We will match $1 federal dollar for every local dollar already. And then we have the opportunity to use it as seed grant matching funds.
This matching of federal dollars with the local dollars, could you just give us some documents that show what that means? Because if you're talking about you've already received your grants, you've already been able to meet your local match for those grants, but now you're talking about doing projects, and I'm just trying to explore the university, like I said.
I'm happy to make that clearer, but we have
to meet their obligations through the RCUOG Endowment Foundation, and we've even given them land to include in their so that they could get with that.
Oh,
and
oh.
so
All right, Senator Therese. Dr. Kreis and Dr. Shelton, please provide us all the documents, because this page has been bookmarked anyway, so we're not going to go any further. Senator Paris, let's wrap it up. Let's move on. Thank you.
Yes. So I am part of the G3 initiative, and I see from the inside what is going on. And, and looking at the framework itself, I see that a lot of the goals and initiatives were already in place by the members independently of the G3 initiative. So, I mean, that's something that I'm seeing. So it is tagging on to what the work of these members are doing. But, in regards to the UN Development Goals, there's UN Development Goal 16, Peace, Justice, and Strong Institutions. It's about sustainable development that promotes peace, stability, human rights, effective governance based on the rule of law. So Dr. Shelton, by rating the Recycling Revolving Fund, how is this promoting Goal 16, a UN sustainable goal of peace, justice, and strong institutions?
Senator, it's not my job to rate any fund. It's my job to propose an effective program. And Recycling Revolving Fund has always been a suggestion because it is one of our very few environmentally related funds. And I've been asking for consideration of this for years. And I'm glad to finally see it be brought in front of this body for consideration.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you, Dr. Shelton.
Just a point of information, Mr. Chair. So in my meeting with you, I had to go back to my records, and in that meeting, I did recommend that you seek board approval. And to this day, even to this very day, you have not spoken with the board. So, and here we have the board presenting testimony. Excuse me, I'm not yet done. I'm not yet done. And to this day, the board is offering this opportunity for you to speak with them. Are you going to pursue that in line with UN Development Goal 16?
Senator Paris, we're already bookmarked this. Dr. Shelton, you communicate and whatever you need to do with Ms. Roth and the rest of the board. We already bookmarked this. There was no objection to the bookmark. We're going to move on. Okay, we're not going to keep dragging this on.
Senator, that I have talked to the administrators, the deputy administrators. I've talked to many partners across this about this. And I think I've done my job to create the partnerships to get where we are today, to have this most comprehensive plan that our island has ever seen for a sustainable development framework. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Shelton. And we're going to move on. Does anybody have anything else on page 24? We're ready to bookmark page 23. So is there anything else anyone would like to bring up on reference to the University of Guam? Senator Lee?
Sorry, Mr. Chair. I know this was brought up in previous budget hearings, previous budget sessions, But I just want to make a point of information to my colleagues and to everybody watching that the Recycling Revolving Fund belongs to the people of Guam, not to any agency. In the same way that the Tourist Attraction Fund belongs to the people of Guam, not to the Guam Visitors Bureau. So this whole idea of ownership, we really need to wrap our minds around the reason why the fund was created and what programs and what agencies are really going to help us to achieve those goals. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you very much. Moving along on page 24, do we have anyone have a motion for page 24? Stand by, senators. Okay, let's move on.
If I could just add that that's the same logic that was used when they, raided the highway fund. And then, it ended up, in order to repair additional roads on Guam, they had to raise taxes because the money in the fund had been used for other purposes.
All right, thank you. We're going to move to page 24. Senator Tello, do you have anything further for the University of Guam? We're now on page 24.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you to Dr. Kreis for reading the letter. And I just wanted to state, for the record, I noticed the letter mentioned nothing about the support for G3. I was just wondering, it talked about everything else about the University of Guam, but it did not. And I just wanted to put that for the record. That's all.
All right, thank you. Does any of my colleagues here have anything? Senator Amanda Shelton.
Mr. Chair, if I'm on a Zoom chat, also from the University of Guam in support of G3. So if you'd like to have it read for our colleagues, if they haven't had an opportunity to read it on their own, it's posted by, I think, OFB on our chat right now. So if you'd like to take some time and read that letter, reading is important. So if you'd like to do that.
Yes.
What letter?
Yes.
Thank you, Senator. Yes. Mr. Chair, I wanted to make mention of that there is a whole separate letter regarding G3 from the University of Guam. So this was a supplemental letter that Dr. Kreis provided to us this morning regarding some points that are short in the budget. And so the G3 letter came in a few days ago, and so that was already provided to the committee and uploaded to the documents here.
All right, so colleagues, please review that letter from Dr. Kreis shaking his head. He had submitted that a lot earlier, so work with that. Now, is there anything else on the University of Guam? Otherwise, we've already identified the pages, the sections that are bookmarked, and we'll discuss later. There being none, we will move now. Senator Shelton, please.
Yes, as I mentioned yesterday, I do have one amendment for the end of the chapter.
All right.
Page 26.
Yeah, line 4, page 26, correct?
This is a similar amendment that we included in last year's budget bill. As we discussed yesterday, we are not anticipating any lapsed funds in FY20, but in the event there are lapsed funds, this is a simple amendment to ensure that the university is able to continue using that in the new fiscal year. So colleagues, it is on page 26, line 4, to create a new section, continuing appropriation authorization. Notwithstanding the other provision of law, the unexpected balance of funds appropriated to the University of Guam for fiscal year 2020 and prior shall not lapse and shall continue to be available until fully expended.
Do we need any discussion on this? Are there any, I don't see any hands. Are there any objection to this? There being no objection, Joe, do a roll call on this. Senator Therese, do you have a question for this?
Mr. Chair, this is Mayor Hoffman. Can Mayor Alec and I bow out? We've got a lot of stuff to do.
Yes, please do. I apologize. Thank you, Mayors. Thank you for your time. I will be in communication with you folks. All right, thank you. Senator Therese, do you have a comment, discussion for the amendment?
I think I asked President Kreis yesterday if there were any lapses for FY19, and he said none, and for FY20 didn't expect any. Is that correct? And I just want to make sure OFB that they concur also.
OFB, Steve, do we have anything? Do we expect any unexpended balance of 2020, just in case?
Mr. Chairman, I cannot determine that at this time. We have nothing to show that they would be lapsing anytime, any appropriation 2020 at this point.
All right, but just, okay, thank you. So this amendment was in just in case. Am I correct, Senator Shelton?
Yes, Mr. Chair, if I may, thank you. What Steve said is exactly why I'm offering this amendment. In my discussions with UOG, we're not anticipating any lapses, but in the event there are, which we can't predict at this time, then we have this amendment to see us through and allow us to use those funds in the new FY.
All right, thank you. Anyone else would like to speak to that? I'm looking, if none, I would ask Joe Meskin to go ahead and do the roll call. Let's vote on this amendment and we move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the Shelton Amendment for line 4, page 26, Chairman San Agustin?
Aye.
Chairman San Agustin, aye. Vice Chair Vigel?
Sorry, aye.
Thank you. Vice Chair Vigel, aye. Vice Chair Shelton?
Again.
Vice Chair Shelton, aye. Speaker Munoz Barnes?
Again.
Speaker Munoz Barnes, aye. Senator Lee?
Again.
Senator Lee, aye. Senator Therese Tatlahi? Senator Therese Tatlahi, aye. Senator Peter Tatlahi?
Again.
Senator Peter Tatlahi, aye. Senator March Taitano?
Again.
Senator March Taitano, aye. Senator Castro?
Mr. Chair, if I may, we ask to be excused, Senator Castro to be excused at this time.
Yes, is there any objection to that motion?
No objection.
No objection, so it motion passes. He's excused.
Thank you. Senator Castro excused. Senator Moylan?
Aye.
Senator Moylan, aye. Senator Munoz?
Again.
Senator Munoz, aye. Vice Speaker Nelson?
Again.
Vice Speaker Nelson, aye. Senator Perez?
Again.
Senator Perez, aye. Senator Torres?
Again.
Senator Torres, aye. And Senator Taitagui?
Again.
Senator Taitagui, aye. Mr. Chair, you have 14 ayes and 1 excused.
Thank you, my colleagues. That amendment would be engrossed into the bill, so when we go back to session, it'll be part of the bill when it's presented in session. Moving along, thank you, Dr. Shelton and Dr. Christ for your participation, and I'm looking for Ms. Ruth. I think she already left. And anybody else? We bookmarked already sections and pages of University of Guam, and until we get back to that, then when we come back to go over it, then we'll go over it. We will now proceed on to the oversight chair of the Guam Community College, Senator Shelton. Were we able to get a hold of Ms. Okada if need be? Otherwise, do we have any motions in the Guam Community College chapter, or part 4 of chapter 2? Yes, Dr. Shelton, Senator Shelton, please.
Oh, thank you. Maybe one day I'll be like my brother. Not today. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So I do have the one amendment for the Guam Community College that is in line with our Manpower Development Fund amendment earlier in the budget. Colleagues, it is in the drive for page 27. Sponsored by myself and co-sponsored by Senator Regine Bisco Lee. And as you all know, we increased the projection for the Manpower Development Fund. And so because that fund specifically goes to the Guam Community College, 70% of it, and 30% to the Guam Department of Labor, I know that Senator Regine will also introduce her companion amendment when we get to the Department of Labor. And it will change the amount from $2,240,000 to $3,220,000. This is appropriations to the GCC apprenticeship program to now read the sum of $3,220,000. is appropriated from the Manpower Development Fund to the GCC for the GCC Apprenticeship Program for fiscal year 2021. In addition to the authorization contained in Section 7120, Chapter 7, Title 22 GCA, the appropriation in this subsection C shall be available and authorized to be used by GCC to fund the operations of other programs at GCC as approved by its board and administration after all the apprenticeship program requirements and obligations have been fully funded. And Mr. Chair, like was discussed during the Manpower Development Fund discussions earlier in the budget, this will allow us to see an increase in the apprenticeship programs. Perhaps up to 250 apprentices can see training from this money. Right now, we're in a cycle for paramedics, for ship repair, for truck driving, and this amount increased in their budget may allow for another additional cycle for all of these industries, as well as IT, I believe.
All right, thank you, Senator Shelton. And if I'm correct, and I just want to make sure I'm correct, I might have missed it. This is as a result of the manpower increase that we did earlier this week, correct? And all you're doing is you're showing the appropriation of where the funds came from.
Again, Mr. Chair.
All right. Do we need any discussion on this? Can I see a hand waved if we need a discussion? Otherwise, this is pretty much what we discussed. Senator Muñoz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What was that amount again? Can she just repeat that, please?
Sure, Senator Muñoz, the amount is $3,220,000.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Welcome.
All right. Any further discussion? If not, we'll move to vote. Yes, Senator Reese. You need to unmute. Unmute, please. Unmute, please.
Thank you. Dr. Okada not available today to discuss the GCC, or is she online? I don't see her.
I don't see it online right now. Do we need to get her online, Senator Teresa? We're trying. It's money they've always asked for anyway.
I just want to know if she was invited and yeah, just not available or what? Yeah.
No, we can call her if you're requesting the oversight chair of GCC to call her up. We can call her if you want her called in.
All right. I didn't know that she was not invited yet. Okay. So I just thought that was your standard operating, Mr. Chair.
No,
So
it's up to the oversight. If they want to invite any of their folks, please feel free to, and just let me know who you're inviting so everybody is aware of who's being invited.
Sure. Mr. Chair, sorry for the misunderstanding. I also thought that the committee was automatically inviting all of our heads of agency, so I did not personally call President Okada. I do, however, know that she is, she has been monitoring the budget session, so she was tracking UOG. I'm sure she knows that we're on GCC now. If we can send her the Zoom link to join us.
Yes, Senator Lee. Senator Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I really made it a point, and I know many of our colleagues have done the same, to attend many of these budget session hearings that we've had. You made it a point to have them in person, and we've had these folks come before us for hours and hours to discuss their budget. It's been available on YouTube for weeks and months, some of them, for us to review, for our staff to review. And so at this time, it just seems very kind of, it doesn't go with how we've done things in the past, to continue to have every single agency come before us once again to have kind of like an oversight style hearing when we've already completed that exercise, Mr. Chair. I'm very curious. I mean, again, we only have a few more days to pass this budget. And so usually when we're in committee of the whole, we have BBMR, we have, other members of the administration kind of provide a large overview, but not each individual, agency coming before us. I mean, how many times are we going to do this? Is this going to become an oversight hearing for every single agency? I'm just trying to figure out the most productive way for us to move forward. I mean, if we
All
don't
right.
have the answer to many of our questions by now, I'm at a loss.
Understood. Understood.
Mr. Chair, if I
Thank you,
Mr. Chair.
Senator Lee. Senator Tello,
Yeah, Mr.
was
Chair,
well
you know,
taken.
this is about the sixth time Senator Briscoe came on complaining about, you know, not being able to move forward fast enough. It's important, Mr. Chair, what you're doing and bringing people on is important. It's part of the process of the budget hearings. And it's important that we bring them on and ask the questions. I mean, as many times as she come on and keep complaining about how slow pace we're going, I don't think so. Technology has made it difficult for us to move forward. These hearings are very important and that allow every senator the opportunity to ask the questions. We're making decisions here that affect the lives of the taxpayers. So I think we should give them the respect to go through this. I mean, we're trying to do our best to go as fast. So I appreciate it that enough to with complaints.
Okay, thank you, Senator Tello. Senator Therese, I've got a hold of Dr. Maricota. She's waiting for the link. We just wait for her. If you want, if any other further discussion on this amendment, and then once she links on, we can move on. Senator Therese?
I just want to say that I don't believe it's unusual in a budget hearing, and I've seen very many of them, to have members of the executive branch available. And in fact, I think this is one of the most unusual hearings we've ever had because we do not have the Department of Administration or the Bureau of Budget directors present and available to us, Mr. Chair. And it's my understanding that they've refused to come down here, or they've been directed not to come down here. And I just wanted to know for this.
All right.
We've been operating all of a sudden in the middle to keep suggesting we change the rules. I just wanted to know whether that was another one of those where, you know, somebody was refusing to come down, or they were just, it's our fault. We just didn't invite them, or something else, or a different rules in place that was not made clear to us.
All right, Senator Therese, thank you.
I'd also like to know if this is how we're gonna be, you know, going forward and having every single agency, because if that's the case, then, you know, we need to plan for much longer hearings. We're going in on Thursday to discuss a separate bill. So I just want to make sure that we're all clear on what our process is going to be going forward. And I'm not trying to stop anybody. I'm just wanting to make sure that we all understand what we're in for over the next few days. And if we're going to have long nights, early mornings and long nights, then so be it. But I just want to make sure that we're going to treat every agency the same. And so if we're going to bring every single agency in, let's maybe call them and prepare them for this long additional discussion. And I'm just confused as to why we held budget hearings in the first place. So what was the point of all that entire exercise and all the work that OFB has done?
Anyway, thank you very much, Senator Lee. No further discussion. Dr. is on board, okay? So just let's end this. Ladies, my colleagues, please, thank you. Senator Shelton, you wanted to comment? We're just waiting for another.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to make it very clear that the president of the Guam Community College was not refusing to come on. She has been standing by, and she is now, I think, in the waiting room. She received the link from the committee. So I wanted to make that very clear that she's willing and she's here to come on and discuss the Guam Community College's budget.
Thank you. Let me see. I don't see her. I see the certain arm come on, but Joe, where we at?
Mr. Chair, we're waiting on her to log in. The link was just sent to her moments ago.
All right, please.
the budget session, so she was tracking EOG. I'm sure she knows that we're on GCC.
Oh, there he
now.
is. Okay, there's Dr. Okada. Sarnarm, are you pretty much ready? Hi, Dr. Okada.
Yes,
All right,
Mr.
so
Chair.
stand by, folks. Stand by, my colleagues.
Thank you, sir. I really made it a point, and I know many of our
Okay.
colleagues came to attend
Okay.
many of these budget session hearings that we have.
All right, let's neutralize everybody's background. Whoever's got their phone on, Senator Therese, mute yours. Who else is on?
For weeks and months, some of them, for us to
I think
review.
it's
for
Mary.
staff to
Mary,
review.
is your,
There's somebody repeating something out
That
there.
may be from Dr. Okada.
Yeah.
Oh,
If
you're
you have
repeating the
mic
Zoom.
on, please turn that down.
Continue to have
Thank
every
you.
single agency come before us once again.
Dr. Carter, you need to
Have
turn off
like
that part. It's just repeating what was said earlier. Thank you. Okay. Start arms, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Madam Okada, can you please raise your right hand?
When we're in committee of the whole, we have BBMR.
Okay.
We have other
Under
members
penalty of perjury,
of the
do
administration.
you affirm that any and all information that you provide today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God?
I do.
Okay, Mr. Chair, she's on
All
roll.
right. Okay, thank you, Sergeant Arms. Dr. Carter.
A window on your screen that's open that's running a concurrent video. So, okay, there. Thanks.
All right. Senator Shelton and our correction, I think it was Senator Therese that was wanted to ask the question of Dr. Okada about getting her that money that we upgrade or increase in manpower. All right, Senator Therese, so Dr. Okada is willing to take that money.
Yes, and we're glad to give it to you. So Dr. Okada, good morning, and thank you very much for being here and for always being very efficient and cooperative with this process that we conduct. So, and I appreciate your willingness to attend. So just quickly, so we're increasing the Manpower Development Fund, of course, to increase apprenticeships, but this provision of, and I have full faith that your use of the money for the apprenticeships is really helping Guam. My only question is, so one line in this provision says that in addition, the appropriation shall be available and authorized to be used by GCC to fund the operations of other programs at GCC as approved by the board and administration after all apprenticeship program requirements and obligations have been fully funded. And I just wanted to know if you had ever had occasion to use that provision, or have you used all the funds for the apprenticeships thus far, and what do you expect with this amount? Yeah.
So for the most part, the college has used the funds to support all of apprenticeship and the administrative components associated with apprenticeship. We have not had any specific request to the board to use the money for any of GCC operations for many years. So we always support the apprenticeship programs, of course, the most recently being the paramedic program that was recently launched in July. So we're looking at increasing apprentices to the extent that the funding allows us to do so, and also expansion of the apprenticeship program using some other federal funds and support that we've been able to get as well.
Great, thank you. And so with the additional funds, do you expect the same, that you'd be able to use all of it for apprenticeships?
That is the plan, because we have several boot camps in the pipeline, and and so some of the boot camps are federally funded. And so when the boot camps are complete, the process that GCC has set up, that the boot camp serves as like a pre-apprenticeship, and then we put them into sponsored apprenticeship with employers at the end of that boot camp. So that's how we've been setting it up for the past several years, so that we actually use the boot camp as a feeder into apprenticeship, so that we're able to put or get more folks into the apprenticeship program.
All right, and if you could just, while you're here, touch on what parts of this program address the healthcare. So I know you talked about the EMS, and I know that you have others also.
Yeah, so there are opportunities for the college to identify like home health care, as long as we get sponsored employers into a fully, online with an apprenticeship program. So there is an opportunity for us to expand to include home health care, which is an occupational area. And so we're working to identify, again, additional funding for home health care as a boot camp that will eventually get them into an apprenticeship program. So there is an opportunity for us to expand in the healthcare occupations. And so we're working towards identifying employers that will help be the sponsor of those apprentices.
All right, I appreciate that. I know there's been a lot of talk about, transitioning some of our employees into healthcare where we have a great need. And so I think a lot of that, we're looking to you to be our leader and to help in that regard. So, and I know you've had this in line for many years. So, Situs Masi again, Dr. Okada. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Senator. So there is a motion on the floor that was proffered by Senators Shelton and Regine. So are there any objections to this motion? Any objections going once?
No objection.
Any objections going twice? Senator Lee, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I think maybe Mr. Messingen or somebody from OFB can conduct the roll call based on our
Yes,
SOPs.
yes, I'm just looking for objections first, and then if I see no objections, then I'm calling for the roll call. If I see objections, then I will call for discussion on the objection. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Seeing no objections, Mr. Messingen, please proceed with the roll call.
My apologies, Mr. Chair. On the motion, I'm sorry, on the amendment by Senator Shelton and Senator Lee, Chairman San Augustine?
Aye.
Chairman San Augustine, aye. Vice Chairman Rajel?
Aye.
Vice Chairman Rajel, aye. Vice Chair Shelton?
Again.
Vice Chair Shelton, aye. Speaker Munya Barnes?
Again.
Speaker Munya Barnes, aye. Senator Lee?
Again.
Senator Lee, aye. Senator Therese Talahi?
Again.
Senator Therese Talahi, aye. Senator Pito Talahi?
Again.
Senator Pito Talahi, aye. Senator Marsh Titano?
Again.
Senator Marsh Titano, aye. Senator Castro, excuse. Senator Jim Moylan?
Aye.
Senator Jim Moylan, aye. Senator Munya?
Again.
Senator Munya, aye. Vice Speaker Nelson?
Again.
Vice Speaker Nelson, aye. Senator Perez?
Again.
Senator Perez, aye. Senator Torres?
Again.
Senator Torres, aye. Senator Taitui?
Again.
Senator Taitui, aye. Mr. Chair, you have 14 ayes and 1 excused absence on this amendment.
Thank you, my colleagues, and then it passes. It'll be engrossed into the committee, into the budget bill when submitted to the floor. Do we have any other motions or any? I don't think we need any more discussion on GCC, but is there anything else that we need to discuss? Otherwise, Senator Shelton, please.
Mr. Chair, I just want to ask our president, while she's here, if she anticipates any lapse funds for FY20?
No, ma'am. We anticipate using all of FY20.
Okay, thank you very much. We did include a provision for the University of Guam. They also anticipated the same thing, but if you don't see a need, then I won't move to include the amendment here.
That's fine.
Okay.
All right, Senator Therese, you wanted to make a statement to Dr. Okada or
Just
anyone?
very quick question. Yes, while we're here on GCC, Dr. Prada. So I know that you're famous for being able to use what little funds you get and grow that. So I know that, but you're getting a budget decrease. Just it looks like approximately 400,000 if they don't reserve any money. But anyways, my question is about the nursing program. It might be just about a $40,000 decrease in that operations on this line item, but are you able to sustain your ability to grow our nurses?
Yes, ma'am. We currently have a group of licensed practical nursing that should be finished by December, and we have the next cohort being prepared for the next bunch of students for the next cohort. So yes, we will be able to continue our LPN program.
All right, appreciate that, and all of your efforts to grow our healthcare industry. Thank you again, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. There being no further, Senator Tello, you wanted to comment for GCC?
Yes. Just to comment, I too would like to thank Dr. Carter for all the work, the hard work she's doing at GCC, and especially during the PPP, in assisting individuals to get their checks, and greatly appreciate you opening your doors for that, and all the work that you're doing there to assist those individuals who are not working right now and trying to make ends meet. Appreciate and your continued hard work even during these difficult times. Thank you, Dr. Okada.
All right, there being, and I don't see any other hands waving. Thank you, Dr. Okada, for your time and continue the great work you do. And for your board and the rest of your staff. You guys do a great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that being said, Dr. Shelton, Senator Shelton, we're going to close. Now we're done with the Guam Community College Part 4 of Chapter 2. We will now move to Part 5. All right, thank you, Dr. Okada, for your time. We're now at the Guam Commission for Education Certification. That's the office that handles all the certification for all the teachers at the Department of Education. Do we have any motions or anything on that one, Senator Tello?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a comment. We're on page 30, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. And I noticed that there was an increase compared to the FY 2020. In FY 2020, there was 176,146. This year, they've been given an increase, and now it's at 228,856. Can you tell me what the increase was from? And
right, Senator
Steve here?
Can you? Yes, Steve. Well, I don't think we got Jesse on. But if I'm correct, I think this had to do with the salary and for their supplies, because they've been working hand in hand with whatever bare bones they've had, and they did approach our office on that one. So it's not really a whole lot, but.
Well, I know that the funding, sir, comes from the Territorial Education and Facilities Fund too, as well. That's
correct.
So, anyways, Steve, there was an increase here. I mean, it's very rare we see an agency or any organization have an increase. So it's important that it's explained.
Yes, Senator. As I said earlier, there are some agencies that will experience an increase simply because of fixed costs. In this case, most of the 228,000 that you see there is to cover personnel costs. So, being the rule of thumb, when we first started, that all warm bodies would have been covered. If it required them going above the 2020 ceiling, then that's what we did.
And I appreciate that too. I mean, we all want to make sure that those individuals who are currently in a position right now are covered. Was there any increase in positions in this area that it caused an increase, or is this just?
In my understanding, the recent hire of Mr. Atatic is the reason why, Mr. Kenga is the reason why the appropriation was increased.
Okay. Okay, recent hire, Steve. How recent?
Is that before the budget?
It was definitely yes, it was definitely before we put the budget together.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Steve. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, do we need any further discussion? Other than that, we're gonna close on part 5, chapter 2 of page 30. We are now going to the Guam Memorial Hospital, GMH. And I believe that, yes, Madam Speaker. Yes,
I do
ma'am.
apologize, but I just want to make sure that on the bookmarks on the 2 previous chapter, because we're going into a new chapter, are we going to go back when we finish the 159 pages or before the miscellaneous, or are we going to go back each time? Just got to ask that question because I know that we're already now going into health.
Well, I'm hoping it's towards the very end, if possible. Not unless there's a motion, and when we get to the administrative miscellaneous, that we go back to bookmark, because like you all mentioned, we're at page 31 now, and I know that GMH, I think Senator Teresa was trying to focus on trying to probably bring them after our recess now, so give them time to finish up whatever they're doing, because I know they're quite busy up at GMH right now. Senator Luis, did that answer the question, Madam Speaker?
Yeah, well, thank you, Mr. Chair, because I just wanted to know, when we go back to the bookmark, is it just, will it be?
All right, you're muting and unmuting, ma'am. There you go. Okay,
No.
mute. Okay, there you go.
No, sir, it's just my thing. My computer is unstable. It says internet unstable right now. So
All
I
right.
just trying to get it in, and I just want to make sure. So when we go back to the bookmarks, is it for further discussion and for the folks to come in again, or is it just for amendment
No.
purpose?
It will end up being, when we go back there, we're not going to be calling nobody in. I think we've had enough discussion. We'll go in there for whatever we need to do, amendments or whatever, and then we just move on, because the clock will not be in favor of just having a long night discussion. All right, thank you. Senator Luis Munoz, ma'am, you had something you wanted to wave down? Because I know Senator Teresa is probably going to ask for after our recess, then we bring in GMH.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I understand it, as we move along through the agencies where we were going to possibly pull from to put into the bookmark area, that's where we're going to go from. So that's the way I understand it, is if we go to a certain agency that we're going to pull, maybe adjust some money from, and then we can go back to the bookmark and not wait until we get to the end of the bill.
And that's correct, because I give a good example is when we had the, gosh, which one was that one where we identified, I think it was the, I don't remember which bookmark we did, and we identified that we're going to pull from Department of Public Health, but the circumstances changed. We'll probably not need to go back to that one, because why? We found the funding already for the charter school. Was a good example, and we may that will just probably end that bookmark, and we just move on, and then we'll just deal with Department of Public Health and give them that rollover funding, so they'll have the additional money, and nothing will go anywhere. It'll stay with Public Health. The way I'm seeing it right now, because we already found the funding for charter school. So that bookmark will probably disappear when we get to Public Health.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, Senator Teresa, will we be able to get them on after our recess? Are we looking at that?
They are able to come after their FEMA meeting. So if we want to take our break now and let them come in after that, Mr.
Okay, and what time are we looking at, Senator Teresa, so we can time it and everybody knows?
It's up to you, Mr. Chair. They're willing.
It's 11:30 right now. Do you want to come back at 1 o'clock? Is that what you're looking at, or 1:30? Well, I just want to make sure that everybody has a chance to go in. I beg your pardon?
1:30, please.
Okay, then 1:30. We'll recess until 1:30, my colleagues. Thank you, and for the people of Guam, we'll see you back at 1:30. Thank you.